I consider Amakumo Peak to be a volcanic caldera. Reason being? Look at what we have in the distance there. That's an actual volcano in the game. And it does erupt. Which would you prefer? A river of magma? Or a torrent of rain? Personally, I prefer the rain. What's up YouTube? My name is SharpNoBoy. Welcome back to more Genshin Impact. We are going to be taking a little bit of a break from the Sumeru Archon quest. And, well, I've been wanting to do this quest for a little while because of Kuki's hangout. So yeah, no more dilly-dallying, we're just gonna get right into it. How did it come to this? What this Mikage furnace that you guys were talking about earlier? You're an Outlander, aren't you? You've got some terrible luck to have traveled to Inazuma at this time. That island is called Tartara. It's a smelting plant for jade steel, which is used to forge weaponry. Are you aware of the legends of Inazuman swords? The jade steel manufactured here is the reason that Inazuman swords are as sharp and durable as they are. So it's a weapon material? Sounds top secret. It's not that big of a secret. After all, the Tenryou Commission feels that having the ability to forge powerful weapons is something they should flaunt. A few years ago, for the purpose of expanding production capacity, they hired a team of consultants from Fontaine. They built the Mikage Furnace, a machine that can fully harvest the powers of the Tatarigami. We've warned them countless times to not let their guard down when it comes to the Tatarigami. But they decided to get ahead of to go ahead with the project anyway. I cannot read right now. After the Mikage furnace started production, most of the consultant team returned to Fontaine. Only Xavier, who we just mentioned, stayed behind in Inazuma. Xavier! I remember that guy. Remember him from the 4.3 event? But during one of the previous battles, something went wrong with the furnace. The part that stores the corrupt Tatarigami energy became extremely unstable. Work was halted in Tartara, and everyone was evacuated shortly after. Xavier took emergency action, and he seems to have set up a containment dome around the Mikage furnace. It's only a temporary solution though. He's probably still on the island now, trying to figure out a way to solve the problem for good. Meanwhile, the Shogunate is only concerned about restarting production as soon as possible. I hear that they're even considering calling the consultants from Fontaine back again. But I don't think they'd be willing to come under the current conditions in Inazuma. And it just has to be that Hanbei guy in charge of this whole thing, doesn't it? Who's Hanbei? A manager, you could say. Always going on about procedures, articles, and applications. His first reaction is never to find the solution to the problem. Instead, it's about what forms should be filled out, and which powerful individual needs to be informed about the incident beforehand. He's probably in the city right now preparing to submit whatever forms he can find. I really don't know if he's actually aware of the severity of the situation. I just hope that Xavier or our craftsmen can find some way to solve the problem. If something were to go wrong with the Tatarigami inside the Mikage furnace, well, if that happens, you should probably leave the island. This all sounds pretty serious. It'll affect our adventures for sure. That's true, but didn't she mention that someone named Xavier is trying to find a solution? Why don't we go and take a look? It'd put our minds at ease if we could help take care of this, wouldn't it? Indeed. So, Xavier... let me just... Totally forgot about this. Okay, Xavier is... over here. Now, you might think it's pronounced Xavier, but if you play the 4.3 event, it's pronounced Xavier. Just a little tidbit that I think should be shared. It's hopeless. Are you Xavier? That's right. Xavier's a name, and the name's mine. But is it fate fair or foul that we should meet at this time and place? Pray tell, fine lass, who are you? I'm just a helpful adventurer. I'm here to help out. To help out, you say? I say, from the looks of your attire, we two are fellow Inazumaphiles on a pilgrimage of passion. A rare pleasure, my friend, Inazumaphile. Okay. I must say I am touched by your kind intentions, but I must also apologize for being frank in saying that I don't believe there is any help you can offer. On the way here, did you happen to see a protective cover that looks like a bubble? The traveler didn't, but I sure did. Oh, okay then. No, that makes sense. The containment done's not usually visible. The containment dome's not usually visible. But what is wrong with me? If you want to view it from a distance, you have to employ a specific observation technique. So how do you do it? Not with my eyes, that's for sure. I view it by availing myself to this work. The Mikage Furnace Emergency Response Procedures. Trial version. I follow the instructions to the letter. Based on the readings given by the instrument, it seems that the dome has been successfully activated. One other thing I should mention is that, technically speaking, its official name is the Mikage Furnace Emergency Containment Dome. The MFECD. Now, as for the Mikage Furnace, Miyuki already explained. Fantastic. She is a considerate and capable young lady. What a blessing it is to become acquainted with one such as her. But whatever happens, I've now sealed it following the Mikage Furnace Emergency Response Procedure trial version, so the problem is almost certainly contained to a certain extent. To a certain extent? Well, it might be 893 pages long, but the trial version has no information on the emergency measures applicable in a wartime scenario. 893 pages. That's a lot of text. We need to form an editors group for a trial version, expanded edition, first issue, and have a detailed discussion on additional emergency scenarios. Anyway, point being, even though I have followed the emergency response measures, they aren't the most complete. And the environment within the containment dome has turned less than ideal, shall we say. The Mikage furnace has now ceased operation indefinitely, and that soldier is getting incredibly antsy about it. Allegedly, Miyuki recently borrowed some of his people to arrange for the evacuation of the civilians. Now that really got him riled up. But if things continue like they are, who knows? Tatarasuna might just turn into a glorious firework visible all the way from my dear home, the beautiful town of Petrichor. Could it really get that bad? In the worst case scenario, yes, it could. We've not yet reached that stage, but if it gets that serious, you'll look to the procedures for further guidance. Precisely, but considering it mostly deals with insurance claims and lawsuits and the like, I was rather hoping it wouldn't come to that. Recently, though, the instruments indicating that the containment dome I activated is a little unstable, but I don't know what or where the problem is. Back in my beautiful homeland of Fontaine, we would normally have a vision-wielding expert diagnose the problem. Then, we would form a dedicated review panel to discuss and raise proposals, approve a solution, then organize the remedial work. But with Inazuma being the way it is right now, all I can do is try to determine what might be going on through naked eye observations and my imagination. In short, you're taking a best guess. Best guess? My dear friend, please, that is a woefully inadequate representation of what goes on. A fairer description would be observation and inference, drawing on a wealth of professional experience, including analogous previous cases. Okay, so an educated guess. Precisely. So my guess is that it could conceivably, potentially, possibly, probably be an issue with the device containing the Tartara core that is having a knock-on effect on the containment dome I installed. But even if that's the case, the readings given by this instrument seem off. Something must have happened outside the dome as well. So you're just missing your vision bearer, yeah? Yes, that's it. Under the current circumstances in the area around the Mikage furnace, only a vision bearer would be, well, safe. I've got like 50. Anyone else would probably make it around 3 paces. Except for me, I'm a special case. I'd have croaked about halfway through taking my first step. In short, if we only knew what exactly was going on with the Mikage furnace, I'd likely be able to formulate a repair plan. But we'd still need a review panel to approve it. Wait, it would only take one person to fulfill the function of a review panel. Aha! So we're all set. Allow me to take a look. I can go investigate for you. Huh? But it doesn't look like you have a vision. I'm no ordinary individual. Is that so? Alright. You've swayed me. It's not technically proper procedure, but we shan't achieve anything by just sitting on the issue, right? Because like you said, like you hinted at, worst case scenario, the place goes boom and the entire island is gone. And I suspect that if we left the soldier to handle it, his report would still be sitting in his superior's chest of drawers, gathering dust as the island was being blown sky high. Didn't I just say that? Let me pack up here, then we'll head off. In any event, we need to get closer to the Mikage furnace to get a better idea of the situation. Perhaps you could go and investigate the surrounding area while I'm packing up. These strange readings must have something to do with whatever's happening in the Mikage furnace. Pack up? Has that been approved by a review panel? Actually, as representative of the present review panel, I have already granted myself authorization to pack up and strike camp. So no need to worry about that. Is that even legal? Let's just get to it.
You'll get frostbite.
Shine down!
No more words.
Stand clear!
And of course, there'd be
Looks like I guess went too far. This is it.
freaking Fatui. Naturally, it seems that way. What? What are you shooting at? So it looks like I need to follow that little butterfly thing. Okay, that's that done. Okay, it looks like we need some Electrograna. And there we go. Whew, the situation looks stable at least. The situation with the Mikage furnace? Yes, indeed. From my observations, the internal buildup of the Tatarigami energy doesn't seem too high. The reason I initially activated the dome was to stop people from going inside, mostly because of the legal liability it puts on us. Basically, if too much energy accumulates inside, then this dome is completely useless. The main thing here is that everything's looking good right now, so it's happy days. No need to pore over mundane details at this point, so how is the dome looking? It's got 3 rifts in it and a whole load of Fatui. Rifts? Wait a minute, Fatui? What are those sly Sneznians doing all the way out here? Whatever it is, it can't be good. You got that right. But if the current issues with the Mikage furnace are the Fatui's doing, then that complicates things. Goodness gracious. How can this be happening? I'm just a humble engineer. I only wanted to come here to do a little research, do some filming, get a taste of Inazuma's delightful culture, etc. How did I go from that to being caught up in this whole mess? It began as a simple technical issue, then that soldier turned up, and all of a sudden it's somehow a process issue. Then, somewhere during said process, it transforms again into an Inazuma domestic affair that Outlanders are strictly prohibited from interfering in. And now the Fatui are here. If it goes on like this, the nature of this problem is going to change quite radically indeed. I sympathize with you. You've had a similar experience before? Drawn into a messy situation that fundamentally has nothing to do with you whatsoever? That's unfortunate. Yeah, the Fatui... We just can't catch a break with these guys, can we? Whatever. I'm here now. And I'm the only person capable of resolving the issue with the Mikage furnace. Technically, ignoring it would be a compliant decision, both in terms of process and in terms of who has jurisdiction over it. But I can't just leave it unresolved. Excuse me. Perhaps I just need to accept that just the way. Or as we say in Fontaine, c'est la. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my mic right now. I might need to get a new one soon. If the Fatui are really here to try and get their hands on the Tatarigami energy inside the Mikage furnace, then the containment dome should be a major stumbling block to their plans. Were those risks also... Indeed, there's no doubt in my mind that the Fatui are at least tangentially related to those rifts. So it's those cracks in the containment dome that are causing my instruments to give these anomalous readings. I must say they are very stealthy. They managed to make it all the way here, damage the dome, and access the inside of the Mikage furnace without anybody finding out. The Fatui are surprisingly good at acting in the shadows. If that's the case, there's a real possibility here that they've already made it inside. If they're left to their own devices in there, who knows what they're gonna do? Are the Fatui really so reckless? If it exploded, they would share the same fate as everyone else. I wouldn't put it past them. Dear me. They are truly daring. First things first, we must find a way to scare them off. Give me a moment to think. I've got it! Since they decided to sneak inside the Mikage furnace quietly, it must mean that they wish to avoid a direct confrontation with the shogunate. So all we need to do is make some sort of big, dramatic gesture to make them think that the shogunate is already onto them. That might just make them much more cautious in their approach, which will make our investigation much easier. Dramatic gesture? Do you know of the Kamui-jima cannon? It's a big gun built using the latest technology, powered by electro. The shogunate had a few of them installed on this island for military purposes, since this is where the front line was. But as the war went on, things changed, and now they're currently sitting around unused. Things changed? What exactly? You'd have to ask our soldier friend, but I'm sure he'd only tell you that he's not at liberty to disclose classified military intelligence. If you want my take, I think the Shogun's army underestimated the sophistication of their enemy. They installed the Kamui-jima cannons, hoping to halt Sangonomiya's advance with overwhelming firepower. But although the Kamui-jima... So many fumbles. But although the Kamui-jima cannon does indeed pack quite the punch, it has a limited field of fire and is not very mobile. Most importantly, big artillery guns like these need several people to operate them, and maintenance is a real headache. Trying to defend the Mikage furnace and the Kamui-jima cannons at the same time meant that our soldier friend and his comrades were spread much too thinly. So ultimately, it actually gave Sangonomiya an opportunity. After making it past that Kamui-jima cannon's field of fire, they quickly took down the forces guarding the Mikage furnace. Before the Shogun's army could get emergency reinforcements to the Mikage furnace, they had already withdrawn from there and started attacking from a different direction. Constantly being dragged back and forth kept the Shogun's forces fully occupied, so when the Mikage furnace started having problems, they were forced to halt production. Meanwhile, the Kamui-jima cannons installed in the wild became essentially useless against the kind of tactics employed by Sangonomiya's side. Suffice it to say that as far as the fight on this island went, Sangonomiya had the upper hand. So did Sangonomiya damage the Mikage furnace? I don't think so. They should be well aware that the Tatarigami sealed inside wouldn't treat Sangonomiya or the Shogunate any differently from each other if the Mikage furnace was destroyed. All they want is to continuously harass and attack the Mikage furnace to be a nuisance to the Shogun's army and slowly wear them down. I wonder who it is that is planning all these precise attacks from Sangonomiya's side. Well, that's enough chit-chat. Whatever the case, the Kamui-jima cannon will definitely cause an unimaginable ruckus, which is just what we need. And as a result of some miraculous coincidence, I actually know how to operate the cannon. It's tech from Fontaine again, isn't it? Well, I won't get deeper into it, but we do have other technologies besides just maintaining and producing equipment. Are you going to fire at the furnace directly? As I've said before, the containment dome is meant for stopping people from entering. The Fatui have already broken through. That much you've seen with your own eyes. Though it may seem like it's just a few small tears, the truth of the matter is that the dome is actually barely holding up. If they're left unchecked, even if the Mikage furnace is all right, they'll definitely find other ways to cause problems. If we don't destroy the dome, we'd have to go through three tears that the Fatui made to repair the Mikage furnace. We'd be fish in a barrel for those Fatui to shoot. But if we destroyed it altogether, not only would it shock the Fatui and provide us with an advantageous opportunity, it would also allow for us to have more routes to choose from. Besides, if we can repair the Mikage furnace in time, everything will return to normal, even if we destroy the containment dome. Have a little faith in me, and in the marvelous technology of my homeland Fontaine. Come, let me mark the locations of the Kamui-jima cannons for you on your map. Don't we need to prepare some projectiles? Normally we would, and the cannons use a very special type of projectile. That's why the Shogunate is so lax about leaving these huge cannons in the wild. But, as I said before, I happen to know how to operate this sort of cannon. What I also know is how to make use of Electro to bypass our projectile-related limitations. But since neither of us have a vision, if we are to get hold of some stable elemental power, we should go ask the treasure hoarders if we might borrow a few of those curious small bottles in which they seal some. Don't worry, I can control the elements. Just leave it to me. Then on behalf of our special review board, I will be entrusting you with this task. I'm confident that we will make a wonderful team. It is time to fire the cannons. Cannon number 1. Ooh, close. Fire. Cannon number 2. And just to show you guys how this works, Eagle 1, Box 2. That is a negative impact. Eagle 1, sweet luck, Fox 2. Direct hit. Knock, knock. You're back. My, that was loud. My eardrums are still ringing. Maybe don't stand so close to something like that next time. After hearing the cannons, the Fatui will most certainly suspect that the Shogunate has become aware of their activities. Still, something seems off here. Why hasn't the Tatarigami energy begun to leak out after the containment dome was destroyed? Could it be that some of the Mikage Furnace's systems are still operational and have already purified some of the energy? Or perhaps the Fatui are collecting that energy? Whatever the case may be, please take this opportunity to go and find out. Watch out! It's the Fatui!
You'll get frostbite.
How brilliant!
Buzz off! Farina has such a big help with stuff like this. They don't beat around the bush, do they? This is just how they roll. Their lack of care for the delicacies of law are really... Oh well. The further they are from me, the better. Seems like their target is Tatarigami energy, which is within the Mikage furnace. Go check up on the status of the storage device inside the Mikage furnace while the Fatui are distracted by all this ruckus we're making. If you encounter any Fatui, why, take them out. I have every confidence in your abilities. The time has come at last. Did you find the device? Yes, and I took a picture of it. Let me take a look. Good, good. It hasn't suffered too much damage. If all the other emergency systems are working normally, most of the energy circuits inside the device should have been cut off already. That I would consider great fortune, even amidst our many miseries. I have a few more preparations to make, and I also need to give the problems we face here at the Mikage Furnace some thought. Come find me after a while. We still have a lot of work to do here. And that is the first part of this quest done. So after doing a little research, I decided to do this next part. Hello there, my dear gallant friend. I have good news and bad news regarding the Mikage furnace. Which would you like to hear first? Let's have the good news first. The good news is that the cores only suffered some minor damage. It is still within my power to fix it. The bad news, however, is that the Fatui poking around in there don't seem to appreciate this piece of good news. They very much seem to be searching for a way to get their grubby hands on the Tatarigami core. But if we let them meddle any further, the Tatarigami's power will get out of control. This entire island will be blown sky high with us still in it. However, if we focus solely on the Fatui, the Tatarigami energy built up inside the containment dome will eventually reach its limit all the same. So we need to deal with both of them at the same time. Well, put simply, academically speaking, in an objective sense. We are facing two separate problems here, the Fatui and the Tatarigami. But with how the situation is inside the Mikage furnace, whichever problem we choose to tackle, we're likely to have to face the other in the process. So ultimately, the fact of the matter is, you mean to say yes. Yes, that's correct. We need to deal with both them at the same time. But one step at a time. As the Liyue saying goes, don't rush to eat hot tofu, or you'll burn your tongue. How come you know Liyue proverbs? We've been to Liyue before. I consider this gem of wisdom a souvenir from the trip. I have a lot of these souvenirs where that one came from. I must confess to having imbibed all of my souvenirs from Mondstadt, though. They were really very good. Let's get back on track. I have a teensy tiny plan to fix this Mikage furnace situation, but I will need your help. You got it. Ha! Forthright and ready for a fight. That's what I like about you. I digress. Now, hold on to these sensor beacons if you please. I need you to place them in a number of locations for me. What these sensor beacons will do is gather data on the density and distribution of the Tatarigami energy within the Mikage furnace. Once armed with this data, I should be able to come up with a more detailed plan. Leave it to me then. I shall leave it in your hands. I will mark the locations for the beacons on your map. I'll be counting on you, traveler. Have you placed those beacons? Yes, sir. Well done. Now all we have to do is let them collect the data. How did you know where to put them? I was part of the design team for the Mikage furnace. by placing beacons in these locations, we can gather data on almost all the areas inside. You know, if we set up purifying devices in these locations, our troubles would be over overnight. If Mr. Floea knew half of what had happened here, he'd go completely ballistic. Alright, thanks for your help. Please take these as compensation. Ahem. One other thing. I may definitely need you to help me retrieve the beacons again at some point over the next few days. I don't have a vision after all, so I can't simply stroll into somewhere with such a high concentration of Tatarigami energy. Not to mention that those rough and tough Tatui folks are still there. I honestly think you're the only person on this whole island capable of dealing with them and the furnace at the same time. And I think that's gonna do it for this episode. And just like that, that entire section is done and dusted. But we're still not completely done with the whole Tatarigami thing. As we have not gotten the achievement for it yet. I don't know if I'll be featuring that in a video or just doing it off screen and then uploading it later.
But human life is like the dew at dawn, or a bubble rising through water. Transitory.
So, that being said, that's gonna do it for this episode. If you liked it, click that like button down below. If you want to see more stuff in the future, click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you would like to get notified for when a video goes live on my channel, be sure to click the bell icon. And last but not least, don't forget to share this video with a friend. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Stay lovely, my friends.
All the world holds dear is but a backdrop of constant motion. I stand before it, alone and unchanging.
Can you believe I got lucky with that?